Welcome to Foro Politico and bienvenidos a Foro Politico. Aquí estamos una vez más. Estamos aquí con el señor Richard Gómez, que es un veterano de la guerra, y estamos con Victoria, que es una candidata al concilio de la ciudad de Moreno Valley. Bienvenida, Victoria.
Muchas gracias. Gracias. It's always a pleasure to be here in Foro Politico 2016. And I want to talk about Trump. And before we get started, let's talk about what's going on with the Democrats, with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. As you know, that recently Bernie Sanders accused Hillary Clinton of being racist for using the term super predator back in 1993, 1994, when her husband, Bill Clinton, signed a bill into law that had more crimes and more penalties for certain types of crimes. And it was repeat offenders, which she referred to as super predators.
Wow, it's amazing that today's date people are paying so close attention to such a little issues like that it's never been brought up in the past until now. That is elections time, and it's just with the intention to hurt the reputation of Hillary. I really think they should focus more on the big issues of this country to be resolved.
Well, I think that they've both been pushed and pressured to attack each other. I think that the Democratic Party and their candidates have so far been very professional to a certain limit. For example, you've had other candidates, back out and allow these two candidates to go into the primaries, whereas the other Republicans, where it's me. But I think that they're getting closer to June, which is the last elections here in California, and they need one candidate. So they're attacking each other, and it's unfortunate, but that's how our political system works. There will be one candidate come June.
Well, we wish the best to either one. Mr. Sanders sounds that he knows what he's talking about, and I really believe Hillary has a lot of experience. And I'm not a macho man that would go against a female to be our president.
Well, I don't think that it was a racial comment per se. I don't think that either former President Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton are racist. They have lots of support from the Latino community, and they had a lot of support from the African American community. I mean, they're from Arkansas, and the minority communities love them, and they elected them. And I believe they made the difference in the first and second term elections. And I have a hard time believing with their involvement in the community, their elections, Hillary going on to become a U.S. Senator, being appointed to the Secretary of State for the whole country, and going into different countries, that she's a racist. However, because the term super predator was used to talk about the repeat offenders, and they happen to be a high percentage of African American and Latinos that were being incarcerated, and this bill led to more incarceration. That's why they're making the association with the term super predator, because after the fact, that's who was affected. But I don't think she meant African Americans are super predators or Latinos are super predators. She just mentioned that we need to incarcerate people that are repeat offenders and for certain crimes. I would never defend a racist.
What do you think is wrong with that? I think we all want the security for the American families.
We do.
And if we do, I think a repeated offender should be put in jail again.
I understand that, and I agree with that.
In other countries, a repeated offender, they chop their hand or they chop their leg.
But this is America.
I understand. So, but there's nothing wrong with saying that they super predators. I think it's just such a small issue to turn them into a campaign issue right now. This
yes,
moment.
And like I said, I really believe that both parties, the Hillary campaign, the Clinton campaign, and the Sanders campaign are pressuring and forcing them to now, become more forceful with each other, because we're coming down to the wire. So that campaign and this campaign, they're saying you got to start attacking. And that's the first thing that Bernie Sanders came up with. And another thing he said was, I don't think she's qualified to be president. And that to me was like, took the wind out of me. I'm like, she's super intelligent. She has a law degree.
Lots of experience.
Lots of experience as the First Lady of Arkansas, the First Lady of the United States, U.S. Senator, and Secretary of State.
And the wife of one of the greatest presidents of America.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with that?
So I don't see how he can come to that conclusion, or I don't see how anyone could come to the conclusion that she's not qualified. The other attacks...
Actually, if we're talking about qualifications, I don't really think Bernie Sanders is as qualified as Hillary is.
I think when it comes to foreign policy, that Hillary has been there. She's walked in the shoes. She's been our Secretary of State. She has experience. So when he says she's not qualified, I would like for him to qualify that statement. I would like to see what he's talking about. What does he mean? I mean, is he just throwing mud
I really think he was just copy Donald Trump.
With the one-liners?
Yeah, I really believe Donald Trump has a big mouth, and I think it's like a fashion now. Everybody wants to open their mouth and say things because of Donald Trump. He's like a dictator, that he can just talk anything he wants. And now Bernie Sanders thought, that's cute. I can do that too. I really believe it's just on the environment right now that Bernie Sanders. But one thing I really give him credit is that he came back and he apologized, and that was very nice. That he apologized and he admitted that he said it wrong, because Hillary is qualified. She is qualified. Probably both are qualified.
Well, I'm biased because I'm a Clinton supporter, and I didn't appreciate that comment. And like I said, I was blown away with that. Like, Hillary Clinton not qualified? Okay, qualify that statement.
I support Hillary too, and I'm not Democrat. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican, and I do support her. I think, honestly, looking from any point of view you want to, she's the best.
Yes, but the comments that are made, for example, when Bernie Sanders says she's not qualified, people might not hear anything after that, and they'll think in their head, wow, she's not qualified, because people listen to Bernie Sanders because they're his supporters. So let's say he doesn't win the nomination, and she is the nominee for the Democrats. I mean, there might be people coming in thinking, well, who should we vote for, because Hillary Clinton is not qualified, because they will not.
So what you say, Victoria, is that statement might hurt Hillary a little bit at the end in the final.
Naturally, just like I think that the African American community is offended by the term, super predator, because they're taking them back to 1993, 23 years ago, and 1994, when that bill was signed by President Clinton. So we're talking about something that's, you're digging up, that's very, very old. And if anybody knows the Clintons and their history, in Arkansas, they know that they're not racist. I don't think they are.
They're not. They're not.
No.
I believe that the African American ultimately need to realize that the best president they ever have for the African Americans is being Bill Clinton.
I agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, more of them went to jail because of the the margination of the African American communities, and probably
poverty.
The application of the law differently to them at the local level, but that has nothing to do with Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton being racist. I believe it's just that whomever is running against Hillary is trying to twist it just to get more votes during the campaign. But unfortunately, Victoria, what you said is true. I believe that would probably hurt Hillary at the end a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that. I think that she's sticking to the issues. I really do. I really feel she is. And I would like Mr. Sanders to also stick to the issues and have a fair debate, not bringing something from 23 years ago that was a law that was passed against people that were repeat offenders or for the crimes that they were committing against women, but not make it racist.
But I really think Sanders has nothing else that he can find on Hillary that he can try to say to stop Hillary, because he knows that he's far behind Hillary and Hillary's going to take it, and he's trying to do anything he can. Unfortunately, they need to think about the effect that can hurt the Democratic Party at the end.
Yes, and I think up until this point that the Democrats have taken care of the party and led the two debates, but now it's getting close to the wire, and we're throwing mud at the wall and hoping it'll stick. And that's what I think happened with this 23-year-old comment that they made saying super predators, because African Americans were affected. But I don't think, it's not like all dogs are, all animals, or all dogs are animals, but not all animals are dogs, right?
Correct.
So with the super predator, it did affect a lot of African Americans, but it was never intended to do that, and it wasn't created for that reason. It wasn't a racist policy. It just happened, we have lots of problems with laws. For example, the penalties for methamphetamines and cocaine. Well, who uses cocaine? Richer people, because it's expensive.
But again, Victoria, I mean, you are a local politic, and correct me if I'm wrong, federal government or president sign a legislation, and that affects the whole country.
It does.
And unfortunately, when it comes to the hands of the local level authorities, if they racist, they can apply more to one group.
Well, naturally.
And that's exactly what happened, but that was not the intention of Bill Clinton, and this is what they need to explain, that the application of the legislation at the local level, it was not done by Hillary Clinton, it was not done by Bill Clinton's indications. It was put in the hands of any local authorities, and it was up to the local authorities what to do. Look at Arpaio. This racist sheriff in Arizona. I guarantee you that if we go back and look into the data, he has arrested more Latinos only because they look Latinos, and he applies all of those laws to the Latinos, and he doesn't apply the same to the whites.
That's true.
And this is a fact.
That's
but should we go back and accuse Ronald Reagan because he passed a legislation that Arpaio used to discriminate Latinos? That has nothing. One thing has nothing to do with the other. I really think African Americans need to get over this, and they need to come together and realize that if somebody has been good for the African American community and Latino community, has been the Clinton family.
Well, I think that the African American community will support Clinton. I really do. And I don't think that what Bernie Sanders said makes her racist. And I think that people will come to see that.
I also think that Bernie Sanders is trying to make a point, since he was, next to Martin Luther King on those days when Martin Luther King was doing his protest. And I think Bernie Sanders is trying to gain the sympathy of the African American community compared to, versus Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
And I think that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the way he did it is very offensive, though.
Yes, that's true. But what are you going to do? They have to campaign. And like I said, I really believe that their campaigns are telling them, you have to attack. And it's the final, we're very close to California, the June elections, like I said, like I mentioned. And people will start voting by ballot by the time, mid-May. You'll receive your ballots, and by the time June 7th comes, people would have voted by then. And what's important is the support of the delegates. And that's something we'll cover later on today. But the delegates are what they're trying to
But,
get.
at least, Democrats like Hillary and Sanders, they both civilize, and they support each other at the end.
Yes.
We're gonna go to a break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And we are back, de regreso con Foro Político, y estamos aquí conversando con Victoria Vaca y Richard Gómez sobre todo lo que ha sucedido en el ámbito político en la semana pasada y lo que nosotros creemos dentro de lo que nosotros conocemos, qué es lo que nos viene. Richard, welcome to this program. Welcome to Foro Politico.
Thank you very much.
And Richard, we heard a lot of things happening on the last week with regards to Hillary Clinton and Sanders, and they accusing to each other. And the one thing that it really impacted me is when Sanders is trying to blame and throw mud at Hillary, and especially the issue about ISIS. What can you tell us about that?
Well, what I know about ISIS does not believe in, like the Red Cross or humanity, but they believe in Allah. They definitely do.
That means they believe in God.
Their God, Muslim God right now, even Muslims are going against them, and when they go against them, they behead them. They're taking over different villages and stuff like that. The United Nations is going in there trying to repel them, but the lead armed forces is the United States. There are some things that the United States can do and cannot do. One of the things they cannot do is do what ISIS does. We don't behead people. When we were coming back from Vietnam, I got back in 1968 when I got back. I was there in 67 and 68 for Tet season. I know what it was about. But when I came back, I was surprised. Didn't the people know that the United States stands for freedom? Freedom is for all of us. All race, color, and creed. All of it. When we came back, we saw the protesting and everything. That's why when I see Trump, Sanders, Clinton, everybody are barking at each other. Hey, fellas, if you got something to say, cast the first stone. That's it. If you can't do that, let's get back to the basics. It's all about America. Americans helping Americans. We need to get to the basic foundation of taking care of our own. You're not going to take the food off your children's table and send it abroad so ISIS can come and take care of it. No, we've done that. We have done this for 3 decades to Africa, and we still send food over there, and nothing has changed except the medical field. It's the only thing. A lot of that disease has come back over here in research, but our medical field has taken care of it. We need to think about our people, our children, our educational programs, our medical programs. Unemployment, it's disastrous. Our veterans in the streets. Why are they in the streets? They fought for freedom. They love America. All they're asking for is America to love them as much as they love America.
Richard, what can you tell us about Sanders blaming Hillary about ISIS being
I've heard a lot about Sanders blaming Hillary on ISIS, started ISIS. I'm going to answer it this way. Hillary Clinton does not, or Sanders, have the power to organize and start up an organization like ISIS. They're both Americans. They're both American born. It's not in their creed to do things like that. They want to help both. And God bless them both. God bless them all. All I say is stop the fighting back and forth. Let's get back to the basics. Get back to the issues. The issues are jobs, education, health care, and our veterans, the homelessness people. We need to help them. There is no race barrier there. There's blacks, there's Latinos, there's Orientals, there's whites. Everybody's there. Did you know this? That our prison systems, back in the early 1900s, when a criminal got released, he got a horse, a saddle, and a gun. Today, what they get now is they get a $200 gate money. Well, if a veteran comes back here and goes, gets sick and dies, you know what he gets? $255. You can't even bury a dog or a cat for that. I think that's kind of disrespectful. Now, these political open forums that we have, especially in Southern California, I've been there a couple of them, and I've spoke out at a few of them. Look, we send billions abroad every single year. And
Richard, we're going to talk about those issues with the veterans in another time.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Victoria, what do you think about the ISIS issue between Sanders and Hillary Clinton?
I don't think that the Secretary of State sets the policy for attacking ISIS. She can come back with recommendations, but you have the generals, you have the military, you have your high-ranking officers, and you have your president, who's the chief of the military, right? He's
Commander-in-Chief.
The commander-in-chief of the entire military for the United States.
That is our president.
That's our president.
So you're telling me that Sanders is wrong?
Absolutely.
It's a wrong statement to say.
I don't think that the Secretary of State is responsible for the rise of ISIS. I think that ISIS is going to do what they want. Okay, this is another military population, military strategists, military people, guerrillas. You could call them anything you want, but the United States does not have any say-so over them. You know, they're on the other side of the world, and they have cells everywhere, and it's up to the president and the military, including the Secretary of State, to decide what they're going to do.
How about our United Nations?
Exactly. So you're not going to blame Hillary Clinton for the rise of ISIS because not one person has that much power. You could always say it's the Secretary of State.
But our FBI, our Secret Service, overseas advisors in the military all have that kind of power, because what do we do when there's trouble in one country? We arm them with weaponry and all that from being overrun and stuff, which makes sense, but we're not governing it. We need to govern it. We don't leave it behind like we did in Vietnam. We left it behind. And all that technology, it's easy, because once they got that, all they're going to do is have that much more to go.
I think that we learned a lot from Vietnam.
Right.
I mean, we learned a lot, and I think that, you know, even President Nixon resigned because of that. So there was a lot of problems there. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I believe that the United States is the world police. Yeah. I believe that the United States is a superpower. Yeah. You know, and I believe in our democracy, but when it comes to the military, I really can't say, you know, this is right, this is wrong, because I don't have that experience and I don't have that information. But at the same time, I don't believe, because of our democracy and the way our government is set up with checks and balances, that one person has the power to do this, what Bernie Sanders is accusing Secretary of State Clinton.
There's two things.
She cannot be held responsible for the rise in ISIS. And we cannot sit here and say that there has been a rise in ISIS.
And I haven't seen any factual information that Hillary Clinton has anything to do with any decision that was made by her that causes ISIS to be, growing. And, as a matter of fact, if we look at the news today, President Obama was saying that he has Islam on the run. I really think it's very offensive, because Islam covers more than just the bad guys. There is a lot of good people that are Islam, and they practice their beautiful religion for them. And I think we should not make those statements. I was shocked when I see the statement that he made, President Obama, to say that he got Islam. Islam is like Catholics, right?
Yes.
You can look. Religion. You can look at CNN. You can go and see CNN, and it says right there, Obama says he has Islam on the run. And I say, wait a minute. This is not a religious fight.
Maybe he meant ISIS instead of Islam.
Well, that's different.
Yeah. Yes.
That's different.
Yes, because
I
think
accept that. That would be
yes.
a good statement.
Yes.
But ISIS is not the only one that practices Islam.
Right. And you need to
You know?
remember that this country was founded on religious freedom. And we still have churches, mosques, temples, many places of worship here in the United States. And these are good, God-fearing people. And we all believe in the same God. We just call him by a different name.
You had a guy named Osama bin Laden.
Yes.
Okay. Now, his people came over to ISIS. Why did they come over to him? Because they lost their leader. Okay, the United States took him out. Right now, the United States is trying to infiltrate into them to get to those leaders, and they are getting successful in some things. But we cannot be governed by the United Nations that aren't willing to go side by side with the United States and fight for freedom. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. But we need help, and we send money to there. No, it's all about us right here, taking care of each other here, making us strong, making sure my grandchildren, your grandchildren, and their grandchildren don't have to go to war somewhere else and get beheaded or something like that. No, we have the power, we have the means. But now we've got something else facing us. We got nuclear people now. China has now.
Anyway, I believe ISIS is not the only one that is Islam. And I think it's offensive that the president said that he has Islam on the run. Can you imagine if it would be, if all Islam state would be terrorists, they will not probably exist. They kill each other.
Of course.
But there is
It's a
beautiful people that they don't kill each other within the Islam.
Yes.
It's the same thing with the Catholics. There is, in Mexico right now, for example, there's a lot of cartels. And those cartel leaders are Catholics. But there's a lot of Catholics that are not cartel, and they are...
Most Catholics.
Most Catholics are not cartel, and they're good people. So you cannot blame Islam believers
because
on
ISIS
because
are
ISIS
Muslims.
is killing Christians. That one thing has nothing to do with the other.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
but
we need to really...
We can't generalize.
But
Exactly.
you can blame the countries that are harboring them and letting them grow in their areas.
I agree with you.
Okay, we should stop the aid to those countries if they do that. We did it to, what's his name, the one...
Cuba?
No, well, Cuba was a good reason right there, too, but that's many, many years. They didn't have the technology is out today. But we've got to remember, there's people out there that are coming around with bombs, human bombs. Now let's think about that for a minute. That one person can come in here and destroy this whole station right here. If they believe in something, we need to stop the believing. We need to do more educating. We need to do more together with the United States, the Red Cross, the militaries, our militaries, their militaries. Don't let Russia do it again. Other countries sell nuclear weapons to any country they want to.
Well, we have a lot of contracts, and we have military laws, but when people are not part of the contract, part of the agreement, they don't follow the rules,
That's
like guerrillas.
right. Correct. Well, I'm sorry, I just beheaded your daughter. Well, you can't do that. I'm ISIS. I can do it. We don't follow your rules.
That's right.
See, so I'm going to go back at them. And the United States should do that.
Yes.
Go out there and stomp them. Like bin Laden, they went after him. He started that stuff.
But we go back to the beginning. Hillary Clinton has nothing to do with this, correct?
No, of
Correct.
course not.
Okay. I just want to make that point clear, and so we don't get off track. And I believe if ISIS believe in Islam, that doesn't mean all Islams believe in ISIS. We're gonna go to a break, and we'll be back. And welcome again, and we are back to Foro Politico. Bienvenidos, estamos de regreso en Foro Político y vamos a hablar acerca de pues, como ustedes ya saben, y los hemos invitado en cada programa a criticar al señor mentiroso Donald Trump, al coyote, que le gusta robarle dinero a la gente, y vamos a hablar un poco acerca de lo que ha pasado en la última semana. con él acusando a Ted Cruz. Victoria, did you hear those accusations where that he's accusing Ted Cruz now of using certain dirty tactics?
No, he's not saying dirty tactics. He's saying Gestapo tactics.
What that means? Can you explain the audience what that means?
Well, the Gestapo would question you, and
That's not like a mafia.
Oh, they were worse.
Oh.
They were worse. They were the ones that were recruiting and killing Jewish people in Germany and neighboring countries. He's exaggerating. It's hyperbole, and it's the worst type.
I think he's lying again.
Of course.
So it's nothing new.
No. Gestapo tactics is you use it for extreme cases. And I think that's kind of like an insult to the Jewish people who suffered so much under the Gestapo. So when you say,
Don't you think it's unfair to use those victims of the Holocaust on a political campaign?
Unless it's true, yes. Unless it's true.
Well,
but it's not going to happen in this country.
I know. I happened to be there for that. Before I went to Vietnam, I was in Berlin, Germany. I pulled guard on Hess, Bonjour, and Spears, Hitler's right-hand men at Spandau prison.
Wow.
Okay, now the Gestapo was Hitler's marketing, and they were also their, what do they call them?
Special forces or elite.
So who will know about that? Only Hitler. So I think Donald Trump is Hitler. I think that's why he knows about it, because he's...
Well, he also, the Gestapo took many treasures from many churches, museums, and things like that. They started up all of the prison camps for the Jews. They're the ones that burned them in the incinerators. They also took away their gold and silver out of their teeth.
So what did that have to do with Ted Cruz?
Well, I think that they're exaggerating, and like I said, it's hyperbole to its infinite degree. But what's happening here is that Ted Cruz is lobbying the delegates. And I think that any candidate...
But what's wrong with that?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't support either Ted Cruz or Donald Trump especially, but what Ted Cruz is doing is natural. We have a system of elections.
Right.
And when we're a candidate, we're looking for support. From who? The people that will get us in office. In this case, it's the delegates. In other cases, it's the voters at home. So right now, they're in a state where they need the delegates. And they're using...
And that's the rule. That's the rule
Yes,
that applies to anybody.
absolutely.
So here's what I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing.
Exactly.
Okay, his team is full of mistakes. They commit so many errors during the Colorado time of the campaign there that now they're trying to find a scapegoat, and blame Ted Cruz for that. But really, they should have blamed themselves, because here again, Donald Trump, he said it. He's not a political guy. Okay, so if he's not a political person, he proved it right there. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't even know how to run a political campaign.
Exactly. He's inexperienced and lacks experience to create a strong political machine. The Clintons, are experts. Ted Cruz, he's been in office for a while, so he knows what he's doing.
Well, I'm not exactly that high and mighty on Ted Cruz. To put together a campaign, to go look for delegate votes, you know what that tells me? My vote is useless.
Not really. No, I don't think so, Richard. Because
so.
if you vote, if you name her as your delegate, you need to live with that. And if she's picked by Ted Cruz and she support Ted Cruz, you the one that put the voter put the delegate in that position.
Delegate votes go from different districts.
Correct, but how they get to there?
That's
that
our
point?
system of government.
Right. That's how they get to the point, because the voters elect him. So the voters put them there, and if they vote for whomever they vote as a delegate, they were put there for that. The voters put him there.
Sure. And Trump lacks a strong political organization, and that's the bottom line. Because this, we could change it maybe down the road, but today,
that cannot be changed.
This is our. Well, I don't know, but today, this is our system of government. This is our democracy.
Just to bring you abreast on the power of the political vote, it happened twice in our country. It took over a year and a half to elect a president through the political votes, like the delegates. They fought amongst each other. Republicans, Democrats, they did that. It took over a year and a half.
Well, that has nothing to do with the primaries. And I think the primaries, that's the rule that it exists for everybody, not just that Ted Cruz is taking advantage. He's doing it legally and following the rules. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I think he's smarter than Trump.
Same thing.
I think he really showed. Actually, if somebody would tell me who would I pick as a president, I think Ted Cruz is better than Trump, because at least he's a political person, that he's been somehow, he's been a senator, and he's been in the White House, and he's been in the Congress and the Senate, so he has more experience. Donald Trump, he lacks that experience. He doesn't know anything. And even his team is being, everybody in Colorado were blaming everything they can blame, but they should have blamed themselves, because there were horrible mistakes they made. They were trying to promote Donald Trump with flyers, to the voters. Who cares about the voters? Ted Cruz went and he attacked the delegates, and he won, and he has really, I think, 99% of them in Colorado. So I really think Ted Cruz, it's really, it has shown, even though he's a racist and he's not different from Donald Trump in that respect, as a political person and as a president of the United States, I think he's much, much better qualified than Donald Trump.
Well, I think that Donald Trump lacks expert strategists, and that he needs someone that is more professional and seasoned in the political process. Because think about it, even his children are not going to vote for him. Why? Because they're not familiar with the voter registration process. They're not registered to vote and cannot vote in the primaries for their own father. So what's going on there?
I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Really?
they did.
Yes.
Both of them,
And I believe that Donald Trump wanted to blame the process instead of acknowledging that they're naive and forgot to register on time and cannot vote for their own father.
Yeah,
There's something wrong with that picture.
So they're not political people, and they make those mistakes. They don't even know the dates.
Yes.
That's why we here in Foro Politico, we try to tell people the dates and how crucial it is for you to register. Don't make the mistake Donald Trump kids had just made. They want to vote for the father, and they forgot about the dates. So don't make that mistake, okay?
Right. So in essence, what I say is that Donald Trump lacks the expert strategists and advisors that know the process. So, and to use the word Gestapo, it's just going overboard, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, but
offensive.
Again, yes, but remember that Donald Trump is the king of one-liners and insults that have got people motivated to go and stand behind him. So it's worked in the past, so he continues with this.
That every president that we've had, every one of them, did not win the majority votes to be elected president of the United States.
I think Obama did.
No, he didn't win the majority. He won the electoral votes and everything. Yes, he did that. But the voting, when we actually came, Obama won. But Hillary Clinton, I feel, had a really good chance against him at one time too. But the momentum stopped somewhere.
Well, I think that Donald Trump is running out of gas. And he's running out of gas because there's only so many one-liners, and he can't be repeating the same thing.
Only 15% of the Anglo-Americans are supporting Trump, and they all show they are the racist people in America, and they related to the Ku Klux Klan too. But we look at Donald Trump's mistakes, and just this week he has the gala event in New York. Do you know about that event? Do you know what happened there?
No, I wasn't listening to his
campaign
this week.
This is before he goes to the delegates in New York. So they have this, they call the gala event. And, you know, I was impressed with the Ted Cruz speech. He did a really good job. And I was impressed with Kasich. He did a very good job too. But guess what? This proves again that Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't even know how to run a political campaign. You know, he has this much time only to talk. And guess what he talked about? He talked about a project that he did in New York, and then he got distracted, and he kept talking about how thick the concrete was, and how many hoses he moved, and how beautiful the concrete looks after he finished the project. And they told him to get out because his time is over. He never talked anything about his campaign. He never talked about anything. He ran out of time because he doesn't even know how to conduct a speech and behave like you know, within the parameters. You know, he thinks he's a dictator, he thinks he's the boss, and he's going to use the microphone as much as he wants. So his plan was to talk to you about the American workers that he has in New York doing this big project, demolition, and then doing concrete, which is no relation to the gala event. The gala event was about warming up the voters in New York, or the supporters that he will have supporting him, but he never got to the point. He never got to the point. He only talked about the concrete, and he talked about hoses, and he talked about how beautiful and level the concrete came out at the end. And he wastes all of the time that he has to talk about this perfect opportunity to talk to the people in New York, on his backyard, on his hometown, about his plan. You know, this is the most important city, I believe, for Donald Trump, because it's the biggest city in the United States, and because New York is his hometown, and he should have a plan. Like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz came very effective, even though, I don't know if you remember, Victoria, Ted Cruz make a comment about the values of the people in New York. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, and he's right on.
And why did the people in New York are very upset with him?
Well, because they don't, you know, you don't have people that are going to agree with everything that he says, but the values of New Yorkers are different than, you know, the West Coast.
What's the difference between the values of the New York and Californians?
I think that what he meant to say is that they don't appreciate him, and I think that he was losing in New York.
Who?
Ted Cruz.
No, I think there was a lot of people offending him, and I understand that this was set up by Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump paid some people for these people to go and not even allow Ted Cruz to talk. And so Donald Trump set it up, and Ted fall into it, and then he got frustrated, and he made the comment. But I really think the comment has no effect as how they make it look like a big deal, you know? I really think the values that he's talking about is that when you go to a city of the magnitude of New York, the people behave a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I think the values that he's talking about is not the values of the family. I think he's talking about how would they value the political campaigns. Right. I think that's what he was referring to. I don't think it was offensive at all. However, they make a big deal, and they still think when New York comes, it's going to affect him too.
I think so, and I think that when he comes to California,
that's the one that's going to.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where our president's going to come from, California. That's why they will be coming here, and this will wave that pendulum this way.
So
or Hillary
will win here.
Yeah, I think Hillary will win here too. But
for sure.
As far as Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, I think that California will support Ted Cruz.
I believe that too. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back. And welcome to Foro Politico. We are back here with Mr. Richard Gomez, a veteran. He's going to introduce us to things that we sometimes ignore or we let go by because we're not into the military issues, and those are very important issues that Richard is going to expose to us, beginning with what happened with those veterans that come from war on today's days. And you see those as a homeless, sometimes under the bridges and with no help, with no money and no education. Richard, what can you tell us about those issues that you see happen lately on those recently arriving veterans from the recent wars?
You know, there's a lot to be said about all our veterans, all of them. Our veterans, all of them, have all fought for freedom. They fought for us. They fought for their families. But it's the returning veterans that we need to help. We need to help them. I have never heard of this before, and I'm a Vietnam combat veteran. We were here 2, 3, sometimes 4 tours in Vietnam. But these guys, today's armed forces servicemen of all branches, Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, all of them are going back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 times, 10 tours. Why? Because they can't get a job. We need to open our arms with training. Sure, we hear about the VA, oh yeah, we can train you, go to school and all that. 8 to 10 months. How are you going to feed your family? And sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's over a year. How about the medical treatment?
Richard, there is no, they have medical. All veterans have
you got to
medical.
apply for it first. Then you got to take your DD-214. It takes 8 months to 12 months just to get your VA card.
But they do get that.
Eventually, yes, they do.
And I understand, Richard, too, that they eligible to buy a house with no money. That's beautiful, too, from the government.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's beautiful.
So,
Only
so
one
what,
difference. How are you going to pay for the house?
So those veterans don't receive a paycheck. They don't receive any money after they...
When you get discharged, no,
They discharge.
not unless you're hurt. If you're hurt, you have a recovery time anywhere from 30 days to 5 years. That's why we got this Wounded Warriors thing out here now. They need help. We need to rally the VFWs, AMVETS, Legion, American Legions, all those organizations. They have auxiliary officers. Those officers are to embrace returning combat veterans, of all veterans, to tell you the truth, and show them how to file for this stuff that's there. The VA won't do it. We must do it. It's brother helping brother. We need to do it.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing this valuable information with us. And we're going to go back to Victoria, and she's going to talk to us. We're running out of time, and we're going to talk briefly about the local elections here. That is very important for Victoria to give us an update on what's going on here, especially Moreno Valley, where I understand that's where you are running for city council.
Yes, I am, and that will be in November. However, we do have the primaries that come in January, and I think it's very, very important for everybody to be registered to vote. Don't let what happened to the Trump family happen to your family. So by May 23rd.
Victoria, so your kids better go and register to vote if
Well,
they
actually,
years.
it'll be the first time that my granddaughter, who's in high school, will be able to vote this coming November because she'll be 18.
So don't let her make Donald Trump's kids' mistake.
Oh, no, she's ready. She's ready.
Okay.
And unfortunately, she can't vote in the primary elections, which are going to be held on June 7th in all of California. So make sure that any of your children, your neighbors' kids, your friends' kids, anyone that will be 18 by June 7th, which is election day, is registered to vote. What's very important also is that they register to vote for president and register to vote by mail, because you'll get, it's so simple, you'll get your ballot at home at the beginning of May, and you have until June 7th to vote. And if you lose your ballot, you could still go vote and get a provisional ballot at your voting location at the Riverside County Register of
Victoria,
Voters.
but the date to register to vote, I understand, is May 15. And we
No,
discussed
actually,
that before.
it's May 23rd.
May 23rd.
That's the last day that you can register to vote
Well,
in California.
To Latinos, you need to lie a little bit and just tell them May 10, because they're always going to be late. So,
Okay.
so we need to. That's okay. So
Okay.
May 22nd, correct?
Okay, May 23rd
May
is the
23rd.
last day to register to vote in the June 7th election. So please get your kids out there. If they're going to be 18, by June 7th, which is election day, and that's also the last day to vote. Make sure they're registered to vote, and what's very important is that they're registered to vote by mail. And you can start voting early. You have a month to vote, but vote. It's important. Because what they say is we're not important because we don't vote.
That's correct. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. And we run out of time again. And thank you, everybody. And
thank you for having us here.
Thank you at home that you watch us. And if you have any opinion, you're welcome to log into our Facebook, and you're welcome to look into TVC Más Latino and Latino PBS, and let us know if you're interested to come, and we're interested to have you here with your opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.